Hey guys, what is up? So I watched GABBIE HANNA'S Chapter 4, Escape the Nightmare, and there was a lot of tea spilling in this one. So let's get right into the video. So GABBIE starts off the vlog really just talking to us about how it's St. Patrick's Day. She doesn't really understand the holiday, just knows it's a holiday for drinking. And then she dives into how because of the disaster of what last year was, she wasn't able to exercise like she wanted to. She wasn't able to get really fit. Then GABBIE starts to dive into talking about how she has ED. I'll leave the exact ED that she says that she has, how she would spend all of her energy into working out. Her life was about fitness and constantly eating the same meals all the time. And then she really talks about how she used to hang out with people who would make fun of her weight all the time. Now, in my opinion, I thought she was talking about David Dobrik. Insert clip.
You guys need it?
You've definitely needed it. We've all kind of talked about it.
Are these diet pills?
Oh my god, David, that is so true.
Exactly. And now take 4 of these and you can probably dance better. So how often do you exercise?
Every day.
Every day? Mm-hmm. So I shouldn't even try, right?
Everybody should love themselves just the way they are.
Okay, so you probably get a nose job, right?
I don't know what you're so afraid of. You've been calling me fat since vlog 1.
Now, in my opinion, I thought she was talking about David Dobrik, so I could be wrong. But then she starts talking about how she loves her body, ends up like dancing for us or whatever, just showing off her body. And then this was interesting. So then she goes to her balcony, talks about how she never finished decorating her balcony, but then says this. Take a listen.
Dude, I can't wait to finish this. I was really excited about decorating my balcony, and then I just never finished it. Sometimes I do get scared I'm gonna jump off though, not because I'm idle anymore.
You know, no matter how I feel about GABBIE, I wouldn't wish anyone to become suicidal, even like upon my worst enemies. I would never. So I'm glad that she got the help that she needed. And then GABBIE starts to play with her cats, and then the next scene she's just in a bath towel and she's like, I'm reminiscing about the time my ex-boyfriend wanted my moles removed. And so far we're like hitting, like we're in 5 minutes of the video, and you really get the sense that she's just like, I'm so tired of people not loving me for me. I'm so tired of people, you know, making fun of how I look. You know, I was super and all of that jazz. So you kind of get like the gist, at least, of this segment that's called like introduction vlog, that, you know, she's letting us know, look, I went through some shit, but I'm gonna love me for me. I finally love me for me. So then after that, GABBIE starts singing, dancing with her brush or comb, whatever. So then we hit a scene to where, you know, she's in her room. You can tell it's later on throughout the day, and Peyton is there, and they're talking about St. Patrick's Day. GABBIE's just like, well, she doesn't really care about the holiday. Peyton says that him and his family, like, that's something they really do celebrate. She didn't know. She's like, oh my goodness, next year I'm gonna make it really special for you. I didn't know you and your mom really celebrated St. Patrick's Day. And it's kind of sad because they're not together anymore, but that was the gist of that conversation. So now it's another day and she's sitting in her backyard. She talks about the squirrels, her cat, and the owl. She talks about her body again, body positivity, talks about how in America in general, how they, you know, they place like cheaper prices on junk food, talks about nutrition, all that jazz. Now we hit 13 minutes into the video where she starts talking about Kenza Cosmetics. GABBIE dives into how she never wanted to scam her fans, and that's why she did a video of the products that she had rejected or said no to. GABBIE says the reason why she was so defensive about this whole scandal was because the first time her seeing it was an Angelica Oles video. And she's like, oh my goodness, like this is the first time I'm seeing that I'm a scammer. But take a listen to what she says.
I was not the only person to promote that company, and that's how I know that you guys don't actually care about the problem. You care about me. You want me to be the problem.
So looking at this in fresh eyes, I feel like there are some scandals where I just felt like the media or the drama channels were really hard on GABBIE about. But you know what I think it is too? I think it's the way how GABBIE responds. When she's talking about the Kenza Cosmetics scandal, not once did she apologize to her subscribers or the people watching. Look, I shouldn't have never said manage your expectations, because that's been the whole big, you know, saying and memes and all that jazz. And so I thought that was really interesting because she should have never said it. So I think, yes, GABBIE gets a lot of shit for things I just personally don't think she deserves, but I also think the bigger picture is how she responds to these things. So then now GABBIE starts to go on this rant about Angelica Oles. Take a listen.
Angelica Oles, of course, like she literally starts every story when it comes to me. I really have like a a deep disdain for her, and I'll be very honest about that. I think that she has done some really terrible things for the sake of money, and trying to say that she's doing it in an unbiased way. Gabbie Hanna is a scammer before I even have a chance to respond.
I don't know, being like a drama channel or new to this thing, I wish there was a way, even for a channel my size, I wish there was a way to approach the YouTuber, hey, can I get a comment on this before I make a video? Because I don't think it's fair to be like, okay, they should have waited until I respond. Because honestly, if I have an opinion about something, I don't have to wait for anyone. I can upload it. It's America, freedom of speech. I think when anyone honestly puts themselves on social media, online, on YouTube, and they profit from others, us, watching their content, then I think we should be able to post whatever we want. I think we should be able to have opinions. That's my opinion. Then she starts to talk about how it's annoying because in YouTube apology videos, she's like, everyone's making fun of my body language, but I have ADHD and, you know, that involves me fidgeting and hyperactivity and all this stuff. Gabbie says that she really wished that, you know, a lot of drama channels would have waited for her to respond to all this because this Kenza Cosmetics scandal happened just right after the rice gum situation. She goes on to say that the drama channels, they didn't care about the consumers. They didn't care about, you know, people receiving horrible brushes. All they cared about was making a story out of her. Then we jump on to the segment of opinions are bullying. And Gabbie talks about how there was this commenter on her Instagram who was basically body shaming her, just sending negative messages. And Gabbie took that comment and posted it onto her Instagram stories. And Gabbie was telling us how opinions are hate, right? So then she talks about Angelica Oles again, how Angelica Oles took this and made a story out of it saying that if you have a negative opinion about Gabbie, that's not allowed.
Angelica Oles turned it into a big story about how I said that if you have a negative opinion about me, basically bad opinions about me are not allowed.
I don't know, but I just think that Gabbie acts like it's weird for Angelica to come to that conclusion. I would have came to that conclusion because to me, what Gabbie is saying is that if I told her, you know, her arms is too short, right? She viewed that as a negative comment, right? She'd have been like, okay, well, your opinions are hate. You could be a really hateful person and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. But that, you know, like, you see what I mean? Like, it just doesn't, I could see why anyone would come to that conclusion. Now, this is the part I truly didn't agree with Gabbie about. She goes, you can have an opinion, but take accountability for it and accept the fact that you're a hateful person. I'm actually going to play that because I don't want that to be taken out of context, okay? Take a listen.
Your opinion can be hate. Those two are not mutually exclusive. You don't get to be a bad person and then also say it's just my opinion. You can, but accept the fact that you're also a hateful person. You're allowed to have a hateful opinion, sure, but be prepared for people to call you out on your shit for being shitty.
So can you see why Angelica or anyone would come to that conclusion? Because it's like, if I said anything negative about Gabbie or she viewed it that way, she's automatically going to write me off as a hateful person. So now Gabbie talks about YouTubers Joey and Daniel, the drama that happened when Gabbie filmed season 2 and season 4 of Escape the Night. She talked about how she was in season 2 and really did not enjoy her experience. So one day her agent called her and asked her if she wanted to do season 4 because Joey and Daniel wanted her back. And Gabbie's initial response was, no, I don't want to do it. You know, right now I'm just not in a great mental headspace. No. Gabbie says after saying no for doing season 4, Daniel and Joey reached out to her and said, hey, like, I really want you to do this. You know, what do we have to do to make you feel comfortable on set? So then Gabbie texted them all these things that she needed in order to film with them again on this show. And as you can see through these text messages, feel free to pause them.
And I laid it out pretty clearly. In each meal, I need a protein, a carb, and a vegetable. I sent specific meals just so there was no, like, question.
So yes, Gabbie was definitely a drama queen for sure. I mean, she said, okay, I need 3 healthy meals a day, 1 like as soon as I get there. If I don't get 1, very sick, 2, I become evil. Like, she, you know what I mean? Like, basically Gabbie wasn't shy. But you know what? They're the ones who were like, hey, what can we do to make it better for you? And Gabbie was like, this is what you could do. So Gabbie goes on to say how she told them, look, you know, I didn't like my dress in season 2 because I couldn't lift up my shoulders. But what was very annoying to me, guys, is when she plugs in, you know, the ADHD information and talks about how that could be the reason to why she didn't like, you know, something on her shoulders. I'm like,
if I couldn't lift my arms, like that gives me severe anxiety. Like,
it's like we're put into a situation as a viewer of, we're not doctors. I mean, I don't know if you are, but I'm not a doctor, right? And so we're put into the situation where we have to believe what Gabbie says, right? It's almost as if, because I'm so tired of these, look, I get why she plugs in, you know, all these ADHD information. Like, I get that, but it's annoying. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's annoying at this point because it's almost as if when she was diagnosed with ADHD, she's like, okay, here are the scandals. Here's ADHD and these are the side effects. Oh, okay, so this side effect, it goes over here with that scandal. And this side effect, it goes over here with that scandal. It's like, stop. It just puts us viewers in a bad spot because we take, I would hope, you know, the majority take mental health seriously, but at a point, it's like, when is the point to where you're gonna take accountability? And don't get me wrong, she does, but I just don't like how ADHD seems to be her excuse for almost all of her behavior. Look, I don't have ADHD, but I know people who do, and I've just never seen anyone use their ADHD as an excuse for absolutely everything, as an excuse for why they acted the way that they did. So now we hit 27 minutes into this video to where Gabbie starts to get really emotional because she talks about how Daniel and Joey, they went on these public platforms to talk shit about her.
Gabbie, I had issues with her. I also had issues with her on season 2. I don't think I've ever said her name publicly, but it's not really news to anyone. She was miserable to work with. And then season 4, she was a nightmare. I'm not going to expand upon that.
Joey also talked shit about me publicly.
Oh, there was one in season 4 too.
Really?
Sure. Yeah, that was season 4 was my least favorite to film by far.
Why?
Just because
Drama.
of this one person on the cast who just made it hell.
I feel like what happened is exactly what I told you was gonna happen.
I did feel for Gabbie here because honestly, Gabbie did say, hey, I don't want to do this. And they were like, look, what can we do to make it right? So I definitely feel for Gabbie. Gabbie also mentions that when she was asked about, you know, her allergies, she mentioned that she was allergic to some type of jewelry or metals, and she was still wearing that same type of jewelry or metal on set, and it actually broke her out and gave her hives. Gabbie mentions an incident about interviews. So she says that, you know, they needed to do interviews for the show, and her call time would be super early. And when she would get there, she'd just be in makeup and costume and everything, but she'd just be sitting there forever. She would sit there for hours, and then they would film, and she would never do the interview. So she would be complaining about that. Gabbie said she complained about how she was promised that she'd have food when she arrived on set, and mentioned an incident where the kitchen wasn't open until 5 p.m. So she complained about that. She mentions an incident where she got home from set, and her agent called her and said, you can't refuse to do interviews. And Gabbie's like, no, but I've been there all day. Like, what are they even talking about? You could tell there was a lot of drama on the set, but I blame both of the parties, you know? I blame Daniel and Joey for promising her all this stuff so she can come film, but I also blame Gabbie for how she reacted, but she's using her ADHD as an excuse to how she reacted. But however, she does go on to say that she could have acted way much better, that she should have never blew up at the director. She blew up at the director because, you know, she was hungry and all they said was they had snacks, and she's like, what? So she blew up. Like, she admits that she should have handled the situation better, but she also says like, look, I was promised these things and they weren't given to me. Gabbie brings up receipts showing us the conversations she had with Daniel about how there was no snacks, and Daniel saying, hey, let me go check to see when the kitchen is open, something along those lines. So after Gabbie blew up at the director, Joey and Daniel decided that they were going to kill her off the show. And when Gabbie asked if this was true, their initial reaction was no, but come to find out that, you know, it was true that they were going to kill her off the show. So now we're 34 minutes into the video, and Gabbie talks about how After she blew up at the director, the next day she texts Daniel and Joey apologizing for her actions. She shows us these receipts explaining how she shouldn't have acted the way that she did, but she wanted to explain to them what led up to that point. Now, reading these text messages, Daniel and Joey were nice, but Gabbie was really upset because Gabbie apologized, but she was upset because they never took any accountability for their part in all of this. Then she talks about how she really did think that Daniel and Joey were her friends, and she brings up a Christmas party. So Daniel was throwing a Christmas party. He tweeted out something along the lines of he's like sending out his invitations or making his invitations for his Christmas party, and he has to see who was on Santa's naughty list and who was on Santa's nice list. Basically, who gets an invitation and who doesn't. After reading this tweet, Gabbie reached out to Daniel and said, hey, you don't have to invite me to your Christmas party just because I'm in so many scandals right now. I understand. Daniel responded and said it was about Trisha Paytas and not about Gabbie, but Gabbie got uninvited to the party. Now, this is the part I agree with Gabbie on. She goes, Daniel and Joey, they were either being fake because they wanted to use her for content, or, you know, them talking about her in a negative way publicly on platforms. That was them just wanting to fit in with the crowd, you know, because everyone else was bashing her. I think they got annoyed with Gabbie. I think they handled it professionally. So all those text messages and receipts that Gabbie is showing us, I think that's just really them trying to handle a confrontation or a conflict professionally. I think after that whole thing, they didn't like her, in my opinion. Gabbie also mentions that Joey initially accepted Gabbie's apology, but later on unaccepted it. So yeah, I think all of that was just professional. After, you know, the show was done, at least that season was done, they were kind of like, you know, F Gabbie. So Gabbie ends this video with talking about mental health, how people say they're always so woke, but then they don't react to situations well regarding mental health. So here's how I feel about this whole entire situation. I think that Daniel and Joey, they were wrong. They just said anything they could to bring Gabbie on set so she could agree to do season 4. That's what I think. But I think they didn't realize how dramatic Gabbie was going to be, but she had that right, I suppose, because they did say, look, anything you want, we'll cater to you. What do you want? We'll provide food for you on set, you know? She was very diva-ish. I believe everyone involved in this matter, all of these parties were equally wrong. I don't believe one was more wrong than the other. I think regarding the problem with Kenza Cosmetics that Gabbie brought up, I still don't think she gave the proper apology to the viewers, the consumers who purchased those brushes. I think that, you know, she said manage your expectations and did not bring that up again. But, you know, overall, Gabbie told her truth. I didn't like the whole, like, the opinions are still bullying thing because that didn't make any sense to me. I felt like Gabbie was in the wrong with that. I should say that Joey actually posted on his Twitter something along the lines of, well, if Gabbie wants to do this, then we'll do this. So I'm eager to see what Joey has to say, but Gabbie showed all the receipts. It's kind of self-explanatory, you know? I can only see Joey talking about more of how dramatic Gabbie was and what she did and blah, 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 blah. And I think it's also worth mentioning too that Gabbie did, you know, she admitted that she was a drama queen. She admitted that because of her ADHD, she acted those ways. And mind you, like I've already said that, I feel like sometimes now she's using this as an excuse, but you know, she's admitted to all those things. So yeah, that was the video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.